Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, y'all. We made it to Thursday. It is Thursday, March the 24th, 2022, and it is time for some headline news. We have a lot to discuss today. We have an amazing guest with us today. He's no stranger to us, and he'll be on a little bit later. But listen, we have a lot to cover, and we need to get started. So, first of all, I need to know who's in here. Tell me who's in here with us this morning. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn or listening by audio, now listen now. If you're driving, listening by audio, don't stop. Don't be trying to type anything in anywhere. You just keep your eyes on the road. I see you, Regina. I see you, Adrian. I see you, Lori Wallace. I see you, Kim Edmondson and Dana. Y'all are rolling up in here today. Hello. I see you, Deborah Johnson and Rosanna Bivens and Latrice Jones. Camille Pleasant, good morning. I see you, John Gore's in the house. I see you, Patricia Laus. I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you, I see you. Listen here, Latrice is from the east side. Okay, what's up, Ron Robinson? How are you this morning? Y'all, we have an amazing guest with us. He's no stranger to us. I'm going to just go ahead and give you his name. His name is Pastor Derek Holmes. Y'all know he's going to help us get through the rough week that we had. I see you, Shirley Nicholson. I see you, Marion Jackson. But listen, y'all, listen. Was it listen, Linda? Listen. I see you, Pastor Alex. I see all of you rolling up in here today. Listen, we have received so many messages saying how much you all appreciate it yesterday. And Dr. Latrice Washington, that girl is on fire. That girl is bad. If you were not on live and if you had not watched the replay, you want to do that. I think we went to about 8:15 yesterday. So we had right about 35 minutes of content in my interview with Dr. Latrice Washington. We were talking about, the confirmation hearings, as well as things that we need to do preparing for the midterm elections. Trust me, y'all, Pastor Derek Holmes will also give us some serious content today. I see you, Jeffrey Allen James. I see you, Deborah Sneed. I see you, Diane Ladybug. I just see all of y'all. I am so excited where God is leading. Y'all, I think we're now on day 23 of Lent. For those of you who are journeying, taking this journey with us, I don't know about you, but my mind is expanding. Ron Robinson said, do you all hear Cory Booker yesterday? Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Listen, I needed Cory Booker yesterday. I was just sharing in the virtual green room with Isaiah and Pastor Derek Holmes. I won't say exactly what I said to them, but y'all can read between the lines. I said, ugh, I don't think I like anybody who don't look like me today. And I didn't say those words. I said it differently. I'm just like, Lord, help me. Just so much. We're going to get to that in a little bit. I see you, Dr. Antoinette. I see you, Anita Overflow Dawson, Miss Retiree. I see my brother, Liz Pryor the Third. Listen, y'all. Listen, Linda. Listen. Y'all, seriously. Before I went to sleep last night, we're going to go to the intro in a moment, but before I went to sleep last night, I sat in a dark room and it was silence. And I was in a place of weeping. I was in a place of asking God questions. And I said, God, and I'm being completely transparent with all of you. Thank God I'm in Lent because I think it helped me. I said, God, I said, if it wasn't for the fact that I've seen your handprint on my life, I would be asking you some serious questions right about now. Why? And y'all, this was my conversation with God. I said, why is Ukraine almost just like a flattened country, like no buildings or very few buildings standing? Why did that happen? Why am I now seeing and hearing that people are standing in lines and they're hungry? Why is that happening? God, why am I seeing all these homeless people on the streets? Why is this happening? Y'all, this was my lament last night. Then I said, God, why? Why is this brilliant Black woman with all of these years of service being interrogated by people who are less qualified than her? I asked a question. Y'all. I asked a question. Now, here's what may be troubling to many of you this morning. He didn't answer me. But yet, somewhere within me, I still had the peace of knowing that he sees, he hears, and he is answering, and he is moving. So with that, let's go to the intro.
News in motion.
I see you, Rhonda Clark. I see you, Danielle. I see all of you. All right, y'all, here's some headlines real quick. Madeleine K. Albright, the first woman to serve as Secretary of State, died on yesterday in Washington. She was 84 years old. Her daughter, Ann, said the cause was cancer. New York Times says these words: Miss Albright rose to power and fame as a brilliant analyst of world affairs and a White House counselor on national security. Under President Bill Clinton, she became the country's representative to the United Nations 1993 to 97 and Secretary of State 1997 to 2001, making her the highest ranking woman in the history of American government at that time. I just loved everything about her. I watched her moves. I still watch her moves. I can't wait till all the documentaries hit this weekend. That's where I'll be. Y'all, no doubt. The word says no doubt. Huffington Post is reporting along with The Guardian, Politico, NPR, Associated Press, and so many others. No doubt that Trump is guilty. That's what the resignation letter said. Prosecutor writes in his resignation letter, the prosecutor investigating Donald Trump's business dealings wrote that there was no doubt the former president committed numerous quotation felonies according to his resignation letter. So y'all, David Pomerantz wrote the letter after reportedly failing to convince Manhattan's new district attorney to file criminal charges against Trump. So there it is. There it is. There it is. Y'all, 12th anniversary of Obamacare. This is coming straight from the Obama website, Obamacare.com, no, ObamaFoundation.org. Y'all, as of January, it was announced that 14.5 million people enrolled in Affordable Care Act exchanges, a new record. More than 30 people are now enrolled. So we're excited about that. Y'all, U.S. President Joe Biden is in Brussels. In South Korea, y'all, 1 in 5 South Koreans have been infected with the COVID-19. In Reuters, Afghanistan suspend a plan to open high school for girls. And then The Guardian reporting that Mackenzie Scott wrote a big check. The billionaire philanthropist donated $436 million to home building nonprofit Habitat for Humanity. And y'all, NPR is reporting, and so is Forbes and Fortune and others. And I know that the young college students are jamming to this. Y'all, good news: 37 million Americans who have May 1st marked on their calendar that their loans are going to go back live. Well, doesn't look like that's going to happen. We're waiting for the final word, but they're saying, just keep them frozen. Just keep them frozen. They're trying to find a way to get rid of them. So y'all just hold your, I wrote, my daughter's like, you should be dancing right about now. Listen. I saw a meme the other day that said, now if y'all can keep freezing them, and the person said, no, I want you to, because y'all Black Twitter was on fire with this. They said, and I want y'all to. If y'all can keep freezing them, y'all ain't missing this money, so go ahead and get rid of them. I said, that's what I'm talking about. Do something for the people, especially if you need them to vote for you. Y'all better learn how to play chess. Learn how to play chess. I don't know who coined that phrase, but learn how to play chess and stop playing checkers. There's that. So that's happening. All right, y'all, Apple and CNBC is reporting that Apple has been slowly turning its wallet app into an actual wallet placement. Credit cards, vaccine cards, reward cards, plane tickets, car keys, and finally, y'all, guess what? Your driver's license. Yep, it launched in Arizona on yesterday. Y'all better come on over here to Apple. It launched in Arizona yesterday. The initiative is the Apple iOS 15 software that powers modern iPhones. Now, if you have a first generation, this ain't gonna help you. I'm surprised your phone's still working. Y'all, it's going to be rolling out to Colorado, Hawaii, Mississippi, and Ohio, and Puerto Rico in the coming days. There's that. That's happening. Yep. Now, you can use it by going through security and so forth, but they're not ready to turn it over to where you can use it if you get pulled over with the police. But they're saying it's going to get there. I know when I was out of the country back in December, there's this other app called Folio where we were able to put our passport and everything in there, and it was usable. All we had to do was pop it open. They scanned it, they looked at it, and it was cool. So it's going to make life easier for many of us. So Samsung, come on over. Don't be shy. No one has to know you crossed over. Just come on over. But when it comes up blue, we know you have arrived. Hello, somebody. Let's talk, y'all. Before I bring in our guests, let's talk. What are y'all saying in here? I see you, Kimberly Watson Grave, and Cherie. I see you. I see you. I see you. Yeah. Kim said, just order another Android, whatever, Kim Edmondson. Ron Robinson says, because a diamond has to go through some pressure in order for it to shine. Ukraine will shine. Judge Jackson will shine. I believe that, Ron Robinson. I believe that. What else? Anybody else got anything to say in here? I see you, Mary Jenkins. Now, y'all, let's talk about, thank you, Mary Jenkins, for popping in when you did. And as I'm getting ready to segue into our guest, because he has a lot to talk about, I see you, Jacqueline. Y'all, on Twitter yesterday, and I put it on my wall, and I think it's kind of hidden because, I normally get a lot of hits, and I probably got two. It's probably a little hidden. But on Twitter, the official GOP account with the blue check mark has an image of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson with her initials crossed out, and underneath it, instead of saying KBJ, underneath it, it says CRT. And then all this, they had over, when I looked at it yesterday, they had more than 2 million comments. Now, y'all, you may not want to do this, but I'm encouraging you to follow the people you don't necessarily want to follow. Sometimes you don't follow because you don't want them to have the statistics that people are following. But listen, you learn all kinds of things. You better get on there and learn their narrative. That's their spin. So you can clearly see on everything that was there in the Twitter account, and that's the official GOP Twitter account, you can see everything there is that they talk about if a Black person runs for any office, the narrative should be to associate them with the CRT. What? Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? So y'all, our messaging needs to get out to talk about the education behind diversity, the education of slavery, the education and the history of everything. So we also have a responsibility to do our part as well. With that being said, I want to bring in my friend, I'm going to call him a resident of News in Motion. He is an organizer. He is he I would say he's to some degree a politician. He knows the numbers. He knows the statistics. He may be focused on Ohio, but he knows it across the United States. So we're going to bring in Pastor Derek Holmes, who is the senior pastor at Second Baptist Church in Circleville, Ohio. He's also on the ground running. So welcome to you this morning. And forgive me, I was supposed to put your banner up there with your name. So possibly, and look, bam, Isaiah's on the key. That's what I got him at. He was like, bam, I got you. Thank you for having me, Isaiah. But here you are, because I want people to know your name. So here you are. So once again, welcome and thank you for hanging out with us here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. You already know, look, as soon as I got the message, and look, and I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it. News in Motion. Look, Gail's being too kind. She tough talked me to get me here. Look, I'm trying to tell you, he's like, look, I need you on, and I'm not taking no for an answer. So I'm gonna send you the link. So go ahead and log in. So I was being called as a strong Black woman who got a Black man together this morning. So so I appreciate it.
Yeah, I really did send him that yesterday. Okay, yesterday morning, I said, look here, this is what I need. I said, I'm not taking no for an answer. And I did so because after having Dr. Latrice Washington yesterday, I was like, okay, many of us who have been watching these horrific hearings, that's not even highlighting her brilliancy. And I said, I need someone to come give us something, not only the power and some steps to getting things done, but also the message to motivate us and to give us hope. And you were the person. So I was like, I'm not taking no for an answer.
No, I hear you. I appreciate it. And look, and I wish I was, I check in, I try to check in regularly just to see what you got going on, because you really be popping over here for real. And in ways that I don't even think News in Motion really be popping on a national level. But the fact that you had Dr. Washington on here almost makes me feel like I'm bringing sand to a beach. So I'm definitely going to be going back just to see what she was on. In fact, I might even go ahead and check what I'm going to say against what she said, because she's just knowing where her head and heart is. She's probably we're probably simpatico around that.
Yeah, it was great. And so look, again, I've worked beside you. I know your work. I've experienced your work. We got in trouble a little bit, but I experienced your work. John Gore says, Pastor Holmes, love your message from Sunday, Second Baptist Church, Pastor Washington's anniversary. There's that. And then you also had Latrice Jones. Don't think I missed it. Talking about Gail can be a little pushy sometimes. It's called matter of fact.
Right.
And then Camille Pleasant says, period, from YouTube. So with that, y'all, we want to dive in because I want to give him as much time as possible. I happened to be scrolling your Facebook page yesterday, and you were sitting in Barnes and Noble, and it was a great picture too. That was a good selfie. I don't know how you did that, but that was a good selfie.
Luck. It was luck.
What did you say?
It was luck. It was luck.
It was perfect. But you said in here, you asked a question. You were like having some deep inner conversation yesterday. And you said, what do the 440 voter suppression bills across 49 states say about what and where the country currently is? Did you come up with any answers on that?
I have. And my answers aren't popular, but I think we're in a moment where we have to be comfortable with unpopular answers. The country that we live in brands itself as a democracy, right? We're continuously in the democratic project here in the United States. And I want to be very clear. I was born here. I don't have any intention of leaving here. My ancestors helped build this for free, I might add. So I don't feel any inclination about going anywhere. But if that's the case, then I think I and we have a responsibility to do what Baldwin says. James Baldwin says, I love America more than any other country in the world. That's why I reserve the right to criticize her perpetually. That there's something about thinking deeply about where we are that's connected to the love of the nation. And if I can't criticize the wrong of the nation, then I'm not operating in love. And so while, I'm an American for what it's worth, right? But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be thinking about what it actually means to be a democracy. And in a democracy, everybody's voices count, right? Yeah. Everyone's voice matters. And I don't know. In fact, it's the case that there are a lot of voices that are silenced, that are muted. When you think about the fact that almost 50 states are operating in ways to mute voices, and it's done so in resounding types of ways. Voter suppression isn't something new, right? So I struggle with the notion of are we just a democracy on paper?
That's a good question. And let's also add, we hear about those 400. I see Dr. Washington coming up in here. We talk about those 440 voter suppression bills, but then what we're ignoring, and I think all of this circus we were dealing with this week, they were passing other things because Fair Fight, Stacey Abrams' organization, came out and talked about that another bill was passed in Georgia that's dealing with voting locations and the type of machines and how many machines are going to remove, which
Right.
will make the lines even longer, which will make it more difficult for people to vote. So there are even other bills that are being passed right now that we're not even paying attention to. And I also fought the media for not putting these things out here. And you were talking about democracy, and another one of your questions on your page I thought was very just, it made me just pause, where it says, when did the United States actually become a democracy? 1776 or 1965? And then you ask, is she still one right now? I thought that was absolutely powerful question, and how you were sitting there having this conversation with yourself. And y'all, by the way, that's not crazy, that's healthy. So go ahead and speak to that, please.
Well, it kind of, to quote our young people, right, kind of said what I said. If we can go from 1776 to 1965 before everyone can have the right to vote, and then on top of that have that act, the Voting Rights Act, then gutted in a very real way, to where we now have to scramble and try to fight just to have our voices heard politically, right? I struggle with the notion of maybe the country being a democracy. We could have a larger conversation. There are different types of government that maybe people just aren't familiar with, right? Like oligarchy, where the government's actually run by the people who have the most money, right? So I mean, we're not bound to a certain branding, and just because it's perpetuated, just because the media perpetuate, just because we hear it over and over again, doesn't necessarily mean that that's what we are. And I think we should grapple with, what does it mean for a nation, right? And the function of the nation state, which I think directly intersects with what we're seeing in terms of everything with Ketanji Brown Jackson. I think it's just important to note that the way in which the country functions should be questioned. And on top of that, we're familiar enough with it to where we should be acting in a certain way.
And I love what Dr. Washington put in the chat too. The branding is off on this issue. Answers need not be popular as long as the answers are truthful. Now, that goes back to what you were saying right there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I want to go back here to Kim Edmondson. Good question. Are we just a democracy on paper? But then you also said this, and y'all, if you're not following him on Facebook, you need to, along with Dr. Latrice Washington. You say, is democracy an identity or I don't, this came up wrong.
It's ideation. Yeah.
It came up DEA, and I'm going, that ain't the right word for the United States. So go ahead, speak to that.
I think that we're in a moment where America kind of trades on democracy, because democracy sounds good. Everybody has a voice. Everyone matters. We're all important here. But the truth is, it's more something that sounds good, as opposed to grappling with the complication, the burden of democracy. And there are some real reasons why I think the country doesn't. Here's the truth. There's a function in the nation state that I think we just need to be honest about. When I'm thinking about these confirmations, I'm very much thinking about starting at least my negotiation of it with the function of the nation state, right? There's a social prioritization that the United States functions in, right? So in terms of people, in terms of who's important, in terms of who matters, right? There's the way in which the United States plays that out. And the truth is, it's white man, white woman, black man, black woman. So coming into the confirmation, I just started from that place, right? And you can kind of see it getting ready to happen. You all remember, right? You remember when the State of the Union happened and Joe Biden made mention of the nomination, and it was that lukewarm applause. So normally half the room claps on the stuff they agree with, and only half of the room clapped when she was mentioned, right? We kind of saw it coming, right? It was the golf clap, exactly, right? We saw this coming, right? Remember way back when Brett Kavanaugh had his confirmation, and when he had the confirmation, a whole bunch of Republicans felt away because he was questioned about the fact that he sexually assaulted this little girl.
Alleged. We gotta say alleged.
Yeah, alleged, right?
Yeah.
Right, and he was questioned around it, and a whole bunch of Republicans felt away, right? And then that was the precursor to the confirmation, because They ended up saying like, hey, listen, you need to know, Judge Jackson, that we're not going to treat you that way. It's not going to be these personal attacks. And nobody believed that. When Lindsey Graham said that we're not going to personally attack you while we're up here, there was nobody who believed that. I gave them the smirk. You know, the smirk, right? It totally felt like that was a lie, right? We kind of saw all of it happening. And I think we just need to be honest about the reasons why we knew what was going to happen, because that type of castigation, that type of mistreatment is the pathetic price of admission in order to sit in seats that were never intended for us to sit in.
From your seat, and I want this question asked, and then I'm going to let you roll with it, because I know it's in you. I can feel it right there. It's right there on your
got me stressed.
It's right there on your chest. What can we? And I know I asked this question. I asked this question yesterday with Dr. Latrice Washington, and it worked. Because I was one of the people that was calling, and my senator is Senator Rob Portman. I left a message. I always leave messages, and I had to laugh when they sent me back my email, which was the same email from 2 years ago. Like right now, I'm focused on the pandemic. I put the letters side by side, and they're the exact same. So they haven't changed the narrative. And you know, I'm whatever he said. And so his phone lines, because at one point his line was completely shut down, and we talk about that. But what else can we do? We can call, which we do, and we promote here on News and Motion. We can write, which we do, and we promote here on News and Motion. We're trying to get people registered to vote, which we're out there doing that. But what else can we do? Because after this week, and I know it was all political. But after this week, and now those different narratives of you see a black face, they're associated with CRT. What can we do to stay breathing? And I'm speaking to you from this, with you being in the seat of a pastor. How do we continue to breathe? How do we continue to have hope? And how do we continue to encourage people, if they have not registered to vote? And how do we encourage people that as a registered voter, they can't sit this one out? This one is just as important as 2020. And with that, as you're answering it, I'm coming off and I'm letting you have it.
Yeah. I appreciate the question, and I come to it in a couple of different ways. Again, the context very much matters to me, and I think we all should be considering what we're looking at. We're watching more than a confirmation. In fact, the latest article I'm writing is connected to that. It's more than a confirmation. We're really watching a preservation of whiteness. We're watching power cling to power, because the nation is shifting. The world is changing. America is changing. And the worst thing for people in power to have to deal with is the idea of losing power. And so we're seeing power trying to be contained by a certain group of people in order to continue to oppress another set of folk. And I think it's just important that we own that. I also want to own, just in this safe space, that as I was watching the confirmation, as I've just been watching all of this, my heart grieves. I think part of what it means to be human is to feel. And I think that just watching this Black woman have to be questioned in the way that she is really resonates with me in a certain type of way. I think it resonates with many of us in a way. And I think it's important for us to own that. We're not coming to it with just head, but we're coming to it with head and heart. The truth is that there are Ketanji Brown Jacksons all over this country, who have to be treated a certain way, or have to deal with certain treatment, have to continue to be dignified and operate in high levels of intelligence while ignorance is questioning them. Those things happen on a regular basis, and I just think it's important to own that as the backdrop. So what can we do? What can we do? Dr. Washington said it apparently, and it was at the end of what I was going to say, but we should be absolutely going out and calling our senators and demanding for the immediate confirmation of Judge Jackson. That's something that you can do ad nauseum, right? You could blow somebody's phone up. You are going to end up talking to somebody, and it probably will be about nothing. And so rather than making that phone call, you can make a phone call to your senator and demand that the swift confirmation for Judge Jackson. And To be honest, at this point, it's ridiculous. Her record is impeccable. Her qualifications unmatched by the rest of the justices. So I think we have a responsibility to stand up on her behalf. What can we do? I think that I've been thinking about this because I think traditionally when we think about what we can do, we connect it to a leader who then does something else. We need a person in place to start the movement. We romance progressive movements in our country, right? We take the most popular leader and put him at the top and then say that this person was responsible for the social movement that pushed the needle. We put Dr. King at the top and then we say that he was responsible for creating this movement that changed the social landscape. We put Gandhi at the top and believe that he was in charge of the social movement, or he was responsible for the social movement that changes everything. And I think that we have an opportunity to shift our thinking. Leaders don't make movements. Brothers and sisters, leaders don't make movements. Movements make leaders. Movements make leaders, and we have to start thinking about how we organize, how we collaborate, how we use our varied platforms, how we use our circles of influence to then make sure that we're creating the right type of a momentum, so that way the leaders that we want can be produced, and then after that, as they're produced, then we can hold them accountable, right? So be clear, Bernie Sanders didn't start democratic socialist movement. The movement produced a Bernie Sanders. The movement produces a AOC, right? The movement produced a Dr. King, right? We have to understand that when that movement on the ground happens, right, then we get the leadership that we want, and then we have the base to support that leadership and then hold them accountable to do the things that we want them to do. So I think first off, we need to be seriously thinking about how we organize on the ground in whatever capacity you can. If you have a barbershop clique that you kick it with, how in the world do we connect with each other and begin having serious conversations about what things can look like? So that's the first thing I think that we should be doing. Right, Dr. Washington, right? That movements are grassroots and they start with the people. So we have to take this seriously and begin to really organize around the things that matter to us most. Not only do I think we need to be organizing and really getting on the ground, getting people together to build the leaders that we want to see, but I also think that we need to be very serious with regard to what our vote actually means. And hear me. We need to be organizing, not just getting together and waxing poetic, right? But we need to take very seriously the power of our ballot. We need to take seriously the power of our ballot. Those who don't have our interest understand our political power. That's why they show up to our churches in October, and then after November, we don't see them till next October, right? There's a reason why we're pandered to in that way. It's because our oppressors realize our power more than we do sometimes. And we have to start taking seriously our political power, taking seriously our political agency. And when we start taking ourselves seriously, then other people will have to take us seriously. And by the way, that's not because they like us. It's not because they even care about us in that way. But power doesn't have conversation with weakness. Power only responds to power. So we have to start thinking critically about what it means for us to show up powerfully. What does it mean to show up powerfully in our community? What does it mean to show up powerfully in our ballot? And we have to be able to organize that in a very critical way. Gail mentioned hope. Where's the hope in this moment? Where's the hope in seeing this overqualified Black woman be questioned and interrogated and mistreated by underqualified people? Where's the hope in something that should be easy being complicated, right? Where's the hope in that? I've been praying about the matter. And I want to offer, as a pastor through and through, that I'm reminded of another story of a trial that didn't make any sense. There was this poor Palestinian Jew by the name of Jesus. He was born to an underage single mother, and he grew up in a ghetto called Nazareth. Grew in wisdom and stature, He grew up in a Roman occupied territory. Where he was in a community that was over policed. He was in a community in which the government was pushing down on folks, so it affected the way that the community looked. And as that happened, he still was committed to poor people, still committed to wellness and health, was committed to economic empowerment. You remember that, for you PhD graduates of Sunday school that have logged on here. You remember when he runs into the temple and he knocks over the tables of the money changers, right? That's a disruption of power, right? Because the church had been co-opted by the government. That doesn't happen in 2022. I'm just talking about what I'm talking about. The church had been co-opted by the government, and Jesus had a problem with that. And all he was doing was what was right. All he was doing was what he was supposed to do. All he was doing was what was right in the eyes of God. And because the government was threatened by him, don't miss it, and because the government was concerned about losing the power that they already had, because the government was concerned about what would happen if people started following righteousness instead of following their recklessness, Jesus ends up having to be on trial. Jesus has to sit and be on trial and be questioned. Don't miss the tension there. That Jesus is being questioned with an unquestionable character. Jesus is being questioned. Perfection is being questioned by imperfection. Morality is being questioned by immorality, right? The trial, by all accounts, is ridiculous. And Pilate, the judge, right, knows that this is wrong, but he doesn't have the courage to say anything about it, doesn't have the courage to do what's right. And there are people who are witnessing it. And here's the tension for me. There are people who are witnessing it who don't have the courage or the gumption or the nerve or the backbone to say that this is wrong. They're so caught up in the show that they just end up being silent in the suffering. Did you catch that? They end up so caught up in the show that they end up being silent in the face of suffering. I don't want us to be the crowd. We are in a moment where we shouldn't be the crowd, where we just watch idly by, where we have to be organized. We have to take seriously what it means for us to organize our resources and our political agency. We should definitely be having conversations around what we want to vote for and who we want to vote for. Be clear. Every single person that you are watching question Judge Brown is an elected official. So whether or not you live in a state where your representative is over here saying something reckless or on the right side of it, God bless Cory Booker. Look, here's the thing. I don't even agree with all of Cory Booker's politics, but I got to tell you, Cory Booker goes to somebody's church because he was absolutely trying to preach to her, and that blessed my whole entire life, right? But those people are elected officials, and we should be thinking about the movements that produce the leaders that we can then vote into the places, so that way this type of thing doesn't happen. She sits there, this strong, proud, intelligent Black woman, and takes every single insult and disrespect thrown at her. Here's the hope. Here's the hope. She sits there just like Jesus, takes all of it. Why? Why wouldn't she just get up and walk out? There's probably someone on here that said, I ain't got time for all this. They probably just would have left. Why does she still sit there? Because she knows, just like Jesus knew, that there's something bigger than the trial. There's something bigger that she's working on. There's something bigger that's in store. The trial is bad. The trial is horrible, but there's a cross that's yet to come. And should he just choose to carry that cross, then liberation comes after that. And she's in her own moment where she's dealing in the confirmation, knowing that there's something bigger after this. And so the hope, while we watch it with tears in our eyes, while we watch it frustrated, irritated, aggravated, agitated, while we watch it and want to jump through the screen and protect our sister, it's important that we understand the long game, the chess game of this, and that there's something bigger after the trial. It's not just for her. It's for the Judge Jacksons that are going to come after her. It's not just for her. It's for the way in which this can affect the landscape of the nation, literally for decades and centuries to come. And so the encouragement that we should have is that this moment is not the final moment, but there's one that will inevitably come, and it will lead to our liberation. So that's what we can do. We need to organize. We need to create movements that create the leaders that we can then support so we can see the changes we want to see. We need to make sure that we are getting people out to vote. This is real, y'all. We need to make sure that, look, even if you don't know what to vote for, right? There are so many outlets where you can help with that. We are in an age of information. We want to make sure that people are voting, and we absolutely want to be vetting the folk that we promote. We are past the point where we just want to vote off name memory. We want to make sure that we are putting the right people in the right places so that way we have the right result. We are not powerless in this moment. That's what oppression does. It makes you think that you have no power. You can't change anything. This is just what it is, and it'll always be like that. We are actually powerful, and we have to mobilize our power. And that's the hope, that we have power in the God that's above us and in the power that we have in our hands and our voices and the movements that we can create. That's all I've got. That's the message. So I pray that you all are blessed. Pray that I made some sense. I'll definitely holler at you soon. Peace.